I can't be the only one who stresses out about meal times being full of chaos and drama. So let's talk about food. Where we talk about all things foster care and adoption related. My name is Lauren. I'm former foster youth. I'm a foster and adoptive mom. I've got 10 kids, but 6 of them were adopted out of the foster care system, and also we're a military family. So in all of my videos, I'm kind of taking perspective from all those viewpoints, having walked in the foster care world myself, and also walking through all of that with my children with a little bit of military in there, here and there. But if you aren't a military family, don't feel like this channel is not for you, because I rarely ever talk about it. But I do have a little disclaimer because I shot my last video in my dining room. We just moved, and we can't find half my studio stuff. So I am in my dining room, which is perfect for this video, even though you can't see my table or anything else, because we're gonna talk all about food. And I just wanna say right now, I can tell that what I'm gonna say is going to be a little controversial. I don't think it's gonna be a popular opinion, but I believe strongly in this. And so, I mean, by all means, if I forget something or I leave something out or you have questions, you're welcome to comment about them, and I'll try to reply to whoever I can. But I will say that the food thing is such a huge issue in houses, and you wouldn't think it is. Maybe your house is just wonderful and calm and you have meals and everyone's just happy to be there and eat everything you cook, but that is not the case in my home. So we have a couple of different dynamics at play here. First off, I have 2 biological kids that we found out really early on had some oral sensory stuff, and my oldest kid has been our teacher on that. She has taught us, 1, that even exists, didn't know that was a thing, and 2, how to kind of navigate that, which is great because one of her little brothers, another one of my biological children who's 10 years younger, has the same issue. So she's kind of paved the way for him, really. But we also have kids. I have a kid, for example, who never had access to food. I have kids that come from different cultural backgrounds and just different family dynamic backgrounds in general, where they didn't have access to certain food, or it wasn't that they weren't given food at all. It's just maybe they had certain things they were used to. Maybe bio mom made lasagna like this, but you make it like that. So different kind of taste bud stuff going on as well. I talked a little bit in my last video about can'ts and won'ts, and if you haven't checked that out, I will link it up above. But just like a quick snippet of that here, I think with the food thing, sometimes there becomes a can't or a won't. I do have kids that I have to kind of just press on a little bit, like is this that I don't want to try it, I just don't want to, like, I don't like that flavor, or is this a can't? Because with a couple of my oral sensory kids, sometimes it's a can't, sometimes it's I'm gonna put something in my mouth and I'm gonna vomit all over the table as soon as that thing hits my tongue. So so I think there's a difference between can't and won't on that, and once again, you can look at that video and kind of some of that conversation, but we're gonna stick to the food here. And this is why I think it's a little controversial to even talk about. A lot of us grew up in homes where it was you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. This is at mom's diner, whatever mom cooks, that's what everybody's gonna eat, and I don't take that stance, and I'll tell you why. I grew up with a lot of shame attached around food. I honestly, to this day, can't tell you why. I don't remember like a big event happening. I do know that at least in my really young years, food was really a family time. So it was a peaceful zone. There was like no drama. It wasn't time to bring up anything that was going to cause any issues or that kind of thing. So it was more of like a lovey family, let's talk about our day and eat this yummy food kind of time. And as I got older, I mean, we were in foster care, and I mean, I really don't remember why, but I will tell you there is a huge shame attachment to food for me, and I maybe some of you will comment below and I go, I bet it's attached to this or that. Hey, maybe, I don't know. Feel free to give me your tips or whatever advice on what you think that might be related to, but this is something I've talked about in my own personal therapy. I've actually kind of used that as a stepping stone to not get hung up on the food thing for my own kids. Sorry, real quick, I had to change camera angles because I had to answer the door. It was a whole big thing. But anyways, so I think it's important to ask ourselves, what are meal times about for us? And some of you may be so busy that you're like, I don't even like have time to sit down for a meal. But let's say you're not. Let's say you've got one meal that you eat together. Maybe it's breakfast, lunch. For most of us, it's gonna be dinner time. That's the time where we can kind of all sit down. That's when my family sits down to eat. I've decided in my house that that's gonna be a drama-free zone. Like that's the time, the one meal where we actually sit around and can kind of go over things. Maybe to use military terms, can brief them on things going on that week or whatever, or they can just kind of let me know what's going on in their lives. And so that is like a tear-free place for me. So I'm not a plate finisher kind of person. I'm a eat till you're full kind of person. If I have a kid that I suspect is maybe just trying to hurry through, like take a couple bites to get back to the video game or get back to playing outside or whatever, I may have them wrap up their plate and put it away when they're excused. But that's not common. Usually my kids are fine eating till they're full, walking away and being good. So I'm not a plate finisher kind of person. And if you're worried, and this happens in my house too, where maybe an hour later they go, I'm hungry, and you go, but you said you were full and I excused you. So whatever is left dinner wise, we usually kind of keep around. So if we've had like burgers and fries and there's still a tray of fries left, we kind of keep that around, and people go by and they keep snacking on the fries or whatever, you know. So that to me is still available later, and that way if you are worried that maybe kids are just rushing through things or trying to throw things away so they don't have to eat those things, you still got those things. They're still available. They can still be re-offered later. We do try to encourage all of our kids to at least try a little bit of everything. With my kids where that is an absolute can't, for example, if I were to have my oldest daughter put some burger meat, some ground meat in her mouth, she doesn't do ground meat, she would probably vomit at the table. So here's something we do that, once again, I don't think is gonna be the popular opinion, but I really stand by it, and I think it's a good idea. I think a lot of people that are trained in trauma would even say this is a good thing to do at mealtimes. If we can kind of get past that whole you get what you get and you don't throw a fit stuff, is we have other stuff available. So let's say I'm gonna make lasagna, right? I know probably 7 out of 10 of my kids are gonna like this lasagna. The other 3 are gonna struggle. So I might make lasagna with like a small plate of chicken nuggets and a plate of baby carrots, and maybe they've got the garlic bread on the table as well. So a few of my kids are going to pick the chicken nuggets, the carrots, and the garlic bread. So I always try to have kid-friendly, not gonna trigger oral sensory stuff for my kids that really need their things really bland. Food isn't something they've always had access to, this kind of stuff. Those things are always available for them. So tip number 1, I guess, would be to always have kid-friendly stuff available at the table. And I know what some of you were thinking. Some of you were thinking, well, wouldn't the kids always choose that thing? And I will tell you, we've never really had a problem with that. Like my kids usually are like, the lasagna sounds way better. Why would I want a chicken nugget when I could have like a whole thing of lasagna? But on the rare occasion it's ever come up, what they tend to do is they pick that one chicken nugget and they still have the slice of lasagna and maybe even the baby carrots and the bread. So they've had like a little bit of everything now. So as far as I'm concerned, they just doubled up on protein because they had that chicken nugget, they had whatever meat was in that lasagna, and so on. So I don't see that as a negative, but what I see more often than not is the kids being aware that the main meal is probably the good one. Like it's probably the one I put the love and attention, all the flavor into, all the yumness into. So it gets real boring having chicken nuggets every single day. So that gets old real quick. So if you're worried that your kid, well, my kid's always gonna go for that. Okay, well, first off, maybe don't do chicken nuggets every night. Find another protein for the next night. But also, it gets old. It gets really old. Where you could see a hard time with this, I think, maybe like that 3 or 4 age where like everything starts getting gross and icky, and then they only want like bread, you know, that kind of thing. But otherwise, that's what I've noticed in my house from ages teenage all the way down to toddler. That has seemed to work. I know families that also do kind of like a peanut butter and jelly station or like a peanut butter sandwich option. So they have a loaf of bread and peanut butter at the table. If you really cannot stomach what mom has made, then go ahead and make yourself a peanut butter sandwich. No worries. You're still getting protein in your body. And I think there's something like I just want to touch on here. I have yet to meet an adult that is a horrible human being because of the things they've eaten. And I get it, like you are what you eat. I've watched my own kids get cranky when they haven't had enough protein, or their fiber's all weird because maybe they haven't been eating enough fruits and vegetables, so maybe their stomach's not working quite right. I get all that. I get all that. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, finding ways to get that into other parts of our day. But maybe dinner time isn't the time I want to die on that hill, is I guess guess what I'm trying to say there. So we do have alternatives for dinner time because I want it to be a peaceful zone, because we declared that that is the time of day where it's a family meal. So let's go into what I was just talking about a moment ago. If dinner is my family meal, if it's our family meal in our house, at least most of the days of the week, that means we have breakfast, lunch, and all the snack times to get at everything else I'm worried about. So if I've got a kid, and actually my youngest with the oral sensory stuff, one of my younger kids, my youngest biological kid, if I know he's going to have a problem with fruits and vegetables, and he doesn't like most of them, okay, then I've got to find creative ways to get them in throughout the day, because once I get to dinner time, I don't want to fight that fight. Dad's just gotten home from work. Our kids are all finally sitting down together for a meal. Like, that's the time I want to hear your heart, and I want to hear about your day. So I might offer something. Apple slices and baby carrots is like a big deal in my house. Like, we have that on the table quite often because those are something that my kids will snack on. So another little tip I'm going to throw in here real quick, and I know this is like such a rabbit trail sidebar, but it goes along with the dinner thing. If you want to get your kid to try something new, I'm going to give you a little suggestion here. Or maybe it's something they've tried before but they swear they hate or whatever, right? Get yourself some cute little dishes. So this one's not that cute. It's just like a little glass dish, not plastic, glass, because for some reason, and you know who sells these that are actually really cute is the Ray Dunn at Walmart. Ray Dunn, I don't know how you say that. Say her name, I'm sorry. But her little dishes with the little designs, and before you go, that's too foofy for a little boy. Trust me, my little boys live for it. But little glass dishes, or those little decorative dishes, I'm sure Target has a version of them. Something really small and petite and cute that you can put, like, I have a kid that swears she hates meatballs, but the second I put one in a cute little dish and put it on the edge of her plate, it's away from her other food, all of a sudden it feels fancy and it feels special, and she is all about it, and she will try it and she will eat it every single time. But back to dinner, I know that some of you guys are thinking that is way too permissive to give my kids kind of the freedom to choose what's for dinner. I get that, but once again, I think that goes back to what our Mealtimes about. And so I'm not a nutritional professional. I do dabble in the world of fitness and nutrition. I've taught fitness classes. I've learned a lot about nutrition just for my own personal stuff. But I would encourage you at times to maybe look at food maybe a little differently, so maybe through a different lens. And here's what I mean about that. Okay, so I've got my oldest who's got oral sensory stuff, right? So there's a lot of meats. She has a hard time with the texture of certain meats. She can do grilled chicken, for example, but it has to be really, really dry. Like, she literally squeezes the juice out of it with a paper towel. But real dry chicken she likes. But that's where I have to go. There's other forms of protein on this planet, okay? There are seeds, there are nuts, there's protein in dairy, there's protein in all kinds of other foods. So is there a way that throughout the day I can have those things available for her, so that by the time we get to dinner, if the only thing I'm offering is ground meat in some form, she doesn't have to sit there and fight that battle with me. Or once again, maybe for my kid that more than one kid who struggles with fruits and vegetables, can I have some carrot sticks or some apples, something laying out that he can just kind of snack on throughout the day, some other form of fiber even, that he can kind of have his hands on throughout the day, so that when we get to dinner time, I'm not going, but buddy, where's your fiber? And I want to show you another cool little thing. So this was a suggestion another adoptive mom gave to me. They sell these at Walmart, they sell these at Target, and it's these little trays with the little compartments. They come with lids, and basically the idea is that you just kind of always have this filled up. So maybe you've got some celery, you've got some carrot sticks, you've got some apples, maybe you have some sort of like yogurt dip or something here, which, by the way, if you make it out of actual Greek yogurt, you've got a protein source there, and you've got just a few little things. And what she just kind of does is she just leaves it out a few times a day, and it's always a yes. So if her kids want something out of this tray, they're able to pull it out of the fridge and they have access to it all the time. So I'm not great about having this available, but the cool thing is maybe you put like red peppers in there, right? My people would be like, ew, red peppers, that's super gross. Like, why would I want that? But it is surprising how often they'll just kind of grab one and nibble on it, or take something new, like something fun, like a little olive, or just something so random and stick it in there that they might like think like, oh, that sounds really good. But the second you stick it in there, all of a sudden they're like, I'm curious. And because that's always a yes, and I'm not being forced to eat it, I'm kind of interested in trying that. And so this isn't maybe a dinner time thing, although you could reintroduce it at dinner time. I have done that in the past. Well, like we haven't finished this today and it's out. It's a free-for-all if anybody wants to add this to their dinner. But it is something that's available throughout the day. They always have access to it, and it's just another way to have fresh stuff always available. So once again, I know that this all sounds really permissive, but when I think about my kids and I think about their hearts and I think about the healing that a lot of them are going through, I think about the world that they've walked through to get where they are today. Probably one of the least of my concerns is, have they finished everything on their plate and did they try everything I put on the table? I do want my kids to be healthy. I do try to focus on nutrition, making sure my people have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and understand why it's important to have those things in their diet. And I even try to teach them to cook their own meals so that they're somewhat self-sufficient. Food's a big deal to me. If you know me, you know that there are some things I love more than anything else, and food is one of them. I live for it. But so it's a big deal to me too. So when I'm having those conversations with my kids and we talk about that, I want them to understand why nutrition and that kind of thing is important. But I just once again, I know it's controversial, but I don't make dinner time that conversation. So anyway, I hope that helps. If you've been struggling with meal times and you're like, man, every time we sit down for dinner, it's always a drama fest. The people fight and the people cry. And maybe it's just time to rethink how you kind of address it. Maybe dinner time needs to be aimed differently. A couple of takeaways here. Try to rethink nutrition just in general. And the other being maybe kind of rethink what might be going on. So maybe this isn't an issue of a won't, maybe this is a can't. I didn't know right away when my oldest was little that she had sensory stuff. It wasn't something she told me. But there was a point, for example, where she said, she'd look at anything that was red and she'd go, I don't know, that's owie, I don't eat that. And so we went, wow, she looks at strawberry jelly and marinara sauce and all this stuff, and she says, ooh, that's owie. And we're sitting there thinking, man, she just really hates red stuff. She thinks it looks like an owie. Well, it turns out later in life, she actually gets migraines from red food dye. It's like her little body and brain knew that things that were red were probably a no-go for her. And so had we listened when she was younger and understood what she meant, we may have kept certain things away from her when she was a little bit younger. But just being a good student of your kids and just kind of checking out, what's this all about? And especially those of you who parent kids that come from hard places, the food just cannot be an issue. It just can't. We can't attach shame to it. We can't make it a trigger. I promise you that's doing more harm than it is doing good. So make those times about getting to know each other and loving each other, building connection, building family unity so that they actually enjoy sitting together and wanting to eat together. And I promise you there's like a million other times during the day to introduce something nutritional for them, especially if you're packing their lunch or feeding them breakfast ahead of time for school. Or maybe you don't. Maybe school provides that, but they come home and they get an afternoon snack with you, and maybe that's the time you try to get them some nutrition here and there. And for those of you on a really tight budget, I don't want you to think that means you need to go out and spend like an arm and a leg on all the things so that you can provide all the things to be a good mom or whatever, because I'm not even saying that this advice makes you a good mom. This is just what we do in our house to have kind of a drama-free dinner. Maybe you guys do something totally different, which by the way, if you do, feel free to comment down below, because I'm sure other people would like other people's advice, not just mine. So feel free to share that as well. But this is just how we have a drama-free time. So if maybe what you can afford is something super basic, guess what? A lot of kids are good with basic. So if you can only throw a couple good things on there, bargain shopping, awesome. My only suggestion would be maybe try to throw something kid-friendly in there, or have something, an alternative option available, something cheap. Once again, bread, peanut butter, done, boom, baked carrots, done. So, I realize those of you, by the way, that are nutrition gurus out there are just like dying right now saying, that is not all the food groups. Like, I get it, okay? But some of us that are adoptive and foster parents, or just living life, or maybe you work full time, or maybe you are working and going to school, or maybe life's just chaotic for whatever reason it's chaotic. Some of us are on survival mode. So survival mode and having a peaceful dinner might look like peanut butter and jelly, and that's okay. So anyway, I hope all this helps, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.